YouTube, what the crap's going on? As promised, HeirofCarthage back, and as promised like 60 times in the first video I uploaded, I'm going to explain the new ability, mounts, spells, and item system. And this system applies to lords and heroes from all factions. It was just added in this patch, and you all will be getting to try it out for the first time today, which I think you're going to enjoy it. Initially, when you look at this, it'll look like the price on a lot of these units has gone up. But the reason is because CA has basically made the heroes and lords a customizable experience. Let's talk through this. For legendary lords, under the items tab, there will be 2 items from the campaign or lore that you're able to put on your legendary lord that gives them special capabilities, and the cost of that is right there. You can choose both, or you can choose one. And you can see that if you pimp Karl Franz all the way out, he's worth 2,175, and that's without his Deathclaw mounts. You put him on there, and all of a sudden he's worth 2,625 because he comes with all these different abilities here, and then the items. So you can bring like a base Karl Franz with no abilities, no items. See, you can uncheck all this stuff, and if you look at his price, all of a sudden he only costs 1,300. Because he has no abilities and no special items. So you can bring a lord that costs less, or if you want, you think that maybe in your playstyle you decide, all right, well, I want this charge resistance. That's really going to help my army. Affects all allies within a 45-meter radius, so I want him to have that. I want Karl Franz to be able to move faster, so I'm going to put him on a Barded Warhorse. There we go. And then I also want him to have Gal Maraz because I want him causing more weapon damage and armor piercing damage. So boom, there we go. And then I'm also going to put the Reikland Runefang because I expect him to end up in a bunch of infantry fights where he's going to cause a lot of splash damage and even more armor piercing damage. So boom, you know, we got Franz all set up. And that's the way I want him, and that's the cost for the way I want him. I don't have to bring a bunch of these abilities that I don't want. With wizards, part of the reason why they're going to look so expensive is because initially all their spells have been selected. But let's say that you're going to bring Balthasar Gelt, which I don't know why anybody in their right mind would bring Balthasar Gelt. He's really not very good. Yeah. So I still think there's some things that can be done to improve legendary lords who are mages, and I think that would be to give them extra winds of magic. In order to make them more potent, or to make their spells more potent. So a spell coming from a legendary lord, the same spell would not be as potent from just a standard hero. So there's a couple of things they could do. But let's say that I know I'm not going to use Searing Doom. I only want Plague of Rust, and let's see what else is in here. Glittering Robe. I just want to buff my infantry units. So say that that's my goal. I can get rid of all these other spells, these other 3 spells that don't buff my infantry units, and all of a sudden Balthasar costs quite a bit less because these damage spells. And in terms of abilities, okay, yeah, I want him to have metal shielding because it's going to give extra armor piercing damage to everybody map wide, so that's a good thing. I want that. But then this charge resistance, I'm not going to use him for that, so don't worry about it. And then this leadership and melee defense for all allies in range. Okay, sure, I'll take that. I want him on his Pegasus. And then maybe in terms of items, do I want the Staff of Valans? It improves the power recharge rate and gives me an increased power reserve. So, okay, yeah, that sounds worth it because I'm going to cast a lot of spells. So again, I'm just being theoretical here, but this is, just trying to give you some anecdotal, how this would work. So basically, you can customize this. Now, there's a few things I want to point out that I don't know if I want to point them out or not because I was hoping to use it against people, but since this is still early, I haven't gotten to. But if you look at the items that come on a melee lord, like the Empire Captain, and this is true, I believe, of all melee heroes, there is a potion of healing here, and you can also select this potion of toughness, which also replenishes hit points. I can basically now bring this Empire Captain and get him killed twice and replenish all his hit points. And I can put him on a Barded Warhorse or the Pegasus, and for 1133, this guy is going to be able to tank a considerable amount of damage. I'll demonstrate. Let's take a look at some of the items on other characters, so like this Warrior Priest. Greatly reduced power recharge rate for the enemy. It's a hex, basically, that you can use on an enemy. That's actually kind of cool, because now it makes your Warrior Priest kind of like counter magic. You've got this one, too, which gives damage resistance to an ally. Again, pretty cool. It's only a one-time use, but let's say that you see Fate of Buna getting cast on your Demigryph Knights. This Scroll of Shielding here can be used by the Warrior Priest to help your Demigryph Knights not get ruined by the fate of Buda as bad. Then the Scroll of Power was something that he already... No, he didn't already have. It's a one-time use thing where all of his abilities will recharge faster. And then in terms of abilities, you get all these abilities in here. So like this damage resistance, this bombardment that gives extra magic resistance. So I think that this is good. The Warrior Priest now actually has a purpose. He can kind of counter magic some enemy things. It'll take some coordination, but it's still pretty cool, and I like it. And you got this Hammer of Sigmar and other stuff here that can boost him up. Let's take a look at the Witch Hunter and see what kind of special stuff the Witch Hunter's looking at. So you still have your Accusation and your Slippery. That's nothing different. But in terms of items, oh, check it out. The Potion of Toughness and the Potion of Healing are both still there. I don't know why Immune to Psychology or Charge bonus would help him. It looks like some of these are pretty generic for heroes. Like some of these are generic. But missile resistance or missile damage and weapon damage, that could be handy potentially. But I mean, again, these potions here are going to let you heal this character a couple of times. It's going to make it a lot harder for someone to character snipe certain enemies. Let's take a look at the wizards and see what they have offered to them, these different wizards. So the Bright Wizard. Same mounts as expected. Abilities. It's kind of cool how you can choose whether or not you want this map-wide thing to save a little money. It only costs 52. And it increases the weakness to fire damage map-wide. This Arcane Conduit, of course, giving them increased reserve. Spells, you can choose the spells as you want. And then let's take a look at the items. Wow, you can give the Scroll of Power to this guy, too. That's kind of cool, so they could use their Arcane Conduit more quickly at one point. And then the Scroll of Shielding, again, here, that can be used by a wizard. So I like that. It kind of gives you a little bit of counter damage spell type stuff that you can use. I like that. It's the same that's on the Warrior Priest, but that's pretty interesting. I think it's going to require some micromanagement, but makes it interesting. It's the same thing for all of the Empire Wizards, I believe. Let's just double check that. It is. Wow, you can't bring any items with the Amber Wizard, so it's different. So the Amber Wizard doesn't have any items, but I think that's probably because you can bring him on an Imperial Griffin, which makes him a lot more formidable. And you can get Blood Roar on that Griffin too, which hexes enemy leadership. That's actually pretty useful. So interesting how you have all these different options. And for instance, if you wanted to make this guy cheaper, check it out. You can summon a Manticore with the Amber Wizard. So if you wanted to, you could just like ditch all the spells on the Amber Wizard. I now have him up on a Griffin, and I can spawn a Manticore. So I'd have two crazy, pretty good flying units, and then I could go ahead and give him the ability here with the Blood Roar. And I mean, for 1700, this guy comes a pretty cool support unit. Increase to power reserves. You may not even need that, so like, I mean, you could maybe even make him a little bit cheaper by getting rid of these. And I know it's kind of weird to use a wizard in melee, but when they have a Griffin, it could be pretty handy. And he'd just be able to summon up a Manticore. But again, that depends on your plan. So again, see how this kind of plays to your plan. Let's go check out a couple of the other factions and see if they have anything different. I want to see what Grimgore has available to him. So the abilities are there still. I mean, if you go to battle without Wa, you're crazy. Whereas I could see if you wanted to save money by not bringing this extra speed and vigor, I mean, who cares? If we go to items, Grimgore can bring his Gitsnick. Wow, he's already got really good weapon damage, and this would make it even better. So that's pretty cool. Gitsnick, man, that's awesome. So definitely cool. So yeah, you could bring Gitsnick. It makes Grimgore more expensive. It's kind of sad to see that he doesn't really have anything there that's going to help protect him a lot. But let's see what some of these Goblin Big Boss. You can put him on a giant spider? I haven't seen that before. That's cool. I just haven't been paying attention though. So you can go on a giant wolf or a giant spider. Slippery is the only thing he has. In terms of items, check it out though. Now you can use the Potion of Toughness and Potion of Strength, all this other stuff. So you might be able to make your Goblin Big Boss more potent. Let's check out the Night Goblin Shaman. So again, you can pick whether or not you want this stuff. Reduced power recharge rate map wide. You got all the spells you can choose. Let's see what we get here. It looks like everybody gets the Scroll of Power, the Scroll of Shielding. So basically wizards now can try to help counter enemy wizards a little bit. Is kind of what it looks like. So that's going to be a common amongst them. And Creative Assembly did say that this was a first pass. So meaning that they're going to be listening to your feedback. So I highly recommend go play games. Go play a lot of games. Try this. See what you come up against. Try different things. Don't do the same thing over and over again. And then take your feedback from this and go give it to the Creative Assembly. So one of the things I would give them feedback on already is I would love to see banners become available for standard units like this. So like I could put a banner on these guys that might give them a little more leadership or something like that. It'd be a cool upgrade. So I like this direction. So again, as you play this, please go give the Creative Assembly feedback on the forums. I'm sure they'll have a place marked to go do it. So please, please, please go do that. I think it'll be really good. So Azag can get this spider banner, and it makes him poison people when he attacks them. Wow, that could make Azag pretty dangerous actually in melee. That's pretty cool. So I mean that's cool stuff for Azag. Let's go look at the dwarves and see what Thorgrim gets. He gets the Great Book of Grudges, so it gives him an extra melee attack, and it affects all allies in range too. Now for the dwarves, that's kind of a big deal. That 8 melee attack to help out the dwarves, that's pretty nice. And then you could get rid of some of these abilities that you don't want. He gets the High King, which again is 8 melee attack for all allies in a 250 meter radius. That's super helpful. So that's really going to help Thorgrim. You could get rid of the speed and vigor thing, which is kind of pointless. The charge bonus and armor piercing you might want to keep, I guess. But I mean, at least you get, you know, some interesting stuff there with Thorgrim. Let's see what the Runesmith gets. I'll bet this is going to be interesting. 4 armor piercing damage to all allies in range. These ones we've seen before, they've always been there. In terms of items, oh, now this is cool. Affects all allies in range. They get extra melee attack. Wow, so the Runesmith could like totally buff up all the cheaper units within a 60 meter radius. This one's in a 45 meter radius, and this one's in a 45 meter radius extra missile. That's really cool. So now you can get your Runesmith up close. He can be using the runes to help negate magic damage, and he would be buffing your men. That is nice. I really like what they've done with the Runesmith. The Thane is now going to be a lot more useful because of the Potion of Healing and the Potion of Toughness. And then check this out. 44 seconds, it gives him extra damage. That one's probably worthless. This one makes him unbreakable, so probably not a big deal either. But I mean, there's this being able to tank extra damage. You could put this on the Thane. Now, I mean, yeah, he costs a little more than he used to, but I mean, he's going to be way, way more valuable than he used to also. We might have to go try that out just out of curiosity now to see what the Thane's capable of. Let's take a look at Bretonnia. What does Leon Kur get? Anything good? Affects all enemies in range, minus 15 armor and minus 36 melee defense. Holy crap, man. That's going to make Leon Kur pretty interesting. Looks like it's pretty standard stuff that they offered to the standard lord. I forgot to look and see what they offered Ungrim. Extra weapon damage and armor piercing, the Axe of Dargo, so that's pretty cool. I like that. Let's check out Chaos and the vampires. I want to look at all these guys real quick. Let's look at Chaos. Let's see what Sigvald gets access to. Like the Cloak of Cleanliness or something. Replenishes hit points of combatants. Now that's pretty neat. So Sigvald can heal himself. Now he replenishes hit points. That's pretty neat. So that'll really help Sigvald. He needs it. Let's see who else. Kolek. Let's see what Kolek gets. This is probably nuts. Star Crusher. So it. Oh wow, extra splash damage and everything. That's pretty cool. You can get Sarthoral, the Everwatcher, however you pronounce that, if you unlock an achievement in campaign, and I have, so he's an available lord for me now, so that's a pretty cool thing they added. He's a Lore of Metal. Let's see what he gets here. Oh, really? They kind of cheaped out here. Just Scroll of Power, shielding, so we've seen that before. What about Archaon? That's going to give him a lot of extra weapon damage, and his weapon damage is pretty good. The Slayer of Kings. And then the Crown of Domination, which gives extra leadership to everybody. That's not that important, I don't think. But the Crown of Kings could be interesting, and you could kind of choose which spells you know you're going to use or not use with them too. And that could be interesting. So let's see if it's pretty much the same stuff for Mark of Corn. Extra melee attack to self. Missile parry with shields. Huh. Not super impressed by that. Let's see if their sorcerers get pretty much the same stuff. Yep. Okay, so no difference there. Let's check out the vampire counts and see what, if anything's different here. Let's look at Kimmler. What is his item? The Chaos Tomb Blade resurrects dead combatants. Effect range of 30 meters, works on up to 3 allies in range, and replenishes the hit points. That's pretty cool. And it gives him more melee attack. That's kind of neat. This one gives him resistance to flame, physical, and missile. Huh, interesting items. I don't know if they'll ever be worth it, but it's interesting. Let's take a look at Von Karstein now. Von Karstein, if you pimp him all the way out, like put him on a zombie dragon, give him, and look at all these abilities that he has access to. Like, you could add Swarm of Flies on here and make sure he has all of his spells, which he does, and then give him his Sword of Unholy Power. Look at how much Von Karstein costs, $36.55. So you're definitely going to want to make sure you choose really which spells you want with Von Karstein, or else he's going to be ridiculously expensive. Let's take a look at the Banshee. I'm curious what they gave this one. Same old stuff. It would have been cool to see them give the Banshee something unique since it's an ethereal unit, but since it is an ethereal unit and it picks up these potions of healing, that could get pretty hard for people to kill because it already ignores 80% of physical damage. White King, same old. Nothing new here, it doesn't look like. Necromancers, just to be sure. Yeah, okay, scrolls. Same old scrolls. Okay, so nothing new there. Did we miss anybody? Beastmen, I've looked at these guys before. Yeah, scrolls. So anyway, that's it. That's the new system. Tell me what you think in the comments, but more importantly, go try it. Go try it. Try it with your friends. Try it in matchmaking. Try everything you can try. If there's stuff that can be abused, find it. Go talk about it on the forums. If there's stuff you want to see improved, again, find it and go talk about it on the forums. I would highly encourage you all, go to the forums. I can't tell you enough, and it's because Creative Assembly finally listened, and I'm not saying this to be mean to them, but I mean, it has been a long time since they've given kind of some special love to multiplayer, and here they did it. Let's engage them, and let's go, tell them the things that we want to see continued here, so that we can continue to see the improvements to multiplayer. That's very exciting. I think there's a lot of potential for multiplayer in this game, and this is a great move by Creative Assembly. Let's go give them feedback. Hope you all enjoyed this. HeirofCarthage signing out for now.